So I'm starting some new content online where I'm getting lifters, coaches, and everyone in between to come on and talk about, mental health, personal struggles, where they came from, whether they've come back from injury, depression, a hard background, and just how that affects their training, their business, and everything in between. Obviously, it's something that is really close to home for me. Recently, I had a really bad run with mental health where I couldn't get out of bed. And I just want to show people that everyone goes through it on every single level, from the highest level to your local level lifters. And I think it's something we can all really relate on. Today, I got Matt Burton on, my first guest. Congratulations, Matt. And he's just going to talk about where he's come from, powerlifting, coaching, how it's helped him, and everything in between. The conversation's going to be real natural. It's not really a podcast. It's more me just talking to some awesome people and awesome lifters about where they've come from, what they've been through, and how they manage and cope with that. And I'll just interject as I see fit. So, Matt, I'll hand it over to you. Let everyone know who you are, what you do, where you come from, and we'll go from there.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks, Anthony, for having me on. Really appreciate it, and being able to reach out and tell my story to people, because my main aspect as a coach and as a person nowadays is to help other people because of my story and what I've been through. And I definitely don't want other people to have the same experiences I did for so many years. And the more people that I can share this story with and show them that they're not on their own, the better it is for other people and myself, because I definitely don't want to see people go down the road I went for so many years. So, I'm a powerlifting coach. I own River City Barbell. I'm an athlete, somewhat you would call an athlete. A lot of people probably say powerlifting isn't really an athlete sport, but yeah.
Hey man, it's a real sport.
Yeah, I like to call myself an athlete because, I found a sport that I love and drives me forward, and yeah, I enjoy every part of it. But I'll start my story from the start and we can just go from there. But as a kid, I grew up in a rough household, my family went through a lot of stuff, and our family was very cold and had not a lot of emotion in it. And that affected me as I grew older. There was a lot of physical and mental stuff within my household. I had a couple of family members who drank a lot, and my sister was a drug addict, and down the road, she went through a lot. I saw a lot and experienced a lot at a very young age. And especially around me, a lot of my family members, like cousins, that type of stuff, involved in crime, drug selling, that type of stuff. And that was just normal where I grew up. I grew up in Campbelltown, Western Sydney. Like to call it the Bronx of Australia. Back then, drugs were a very big place. And myself, I'm 37 years old now, and I haven't had a drink or any drug that gets you high in 19 years because of that.
Congratulations, man. That's huge.
Yeah.
From someone that's struggled with addiction issues their whole life, that's outstanding, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah. I think with what I have, I was diagnosed at 30 with BPD. So there's a line, and it's I'm either all in or I'm not in at all. And
for those that don't know, borderline personality disorder, right?
Borderline personality disorder. So through my 20s was probably the hardest years of my life. I went through a lot of mental stuff. I didn't even know I had mental problems. I just thought I was normal. But the problem with me was that I always hung out with younger people, so they accepted my behavior. And that to me was I hung out with young people, acted like a dickhead, did dumb things, and I never took drugs. I didn't drink nothing, but I just acted like a friggin' idiot. And I'd go have a girlfriend, we'd break up. I'd go to the next girlfriend, have a breakup, and I'd always just say everybody else's problem. I played the victim for 10 years, saying that everybody else was a problem. I even went from job to job. I was a signwriter tradesman, so straight out of school, I had dyslexia at school, so I struggled to learn. So I went and done a trade that was all hands-on. I was into graffiti when I was younger, so I went to signwriting and just did the nearest thing that I was good at. And then it all went digital and I didn't like it anymore because I was doing brush. And then I just worked a job for like 10 plus years that I did not enjoy. So every day I'd wake up, go to work, go out on the weekend, and that was life. Like the life just turned over and I was like, I'm never going to have anything nice. I'm just going to spend all my money every week and whatever. And then I met a partner at, I think it was 28, and she powerlifted. And she had a brother who was autistic. So like she kind of had a background in knowing things about mental health. And she used to always say to me, like, maybe you should kind of get some help. And then it got to the point towards the end of our relationship where, like my behavior was really unacceptable in some of the things I did. And then we ended up going different ways. But I stayed, at that point, I was just like 6 or 8 months into powerlifting. And the only thing that I could cling to that in that point when we broke up was powerlifting. So I joined a gym in Brisbane, which is called Valhalla Strength. At that point, I moved back to Brisbane from the Gold Coast, and I had a mental breakdown at that point in my life because I didn't know where I was going, what was going on in my life, and I literally like felt so alone. Like I'd felt alone my whole life because I never fitted in with groups of people, and I never like I'd go to hang out with people and I always felt like I was on the outskirts or someone was talking about me.
And at this point, you hadn't been diagnosed with BPD or anything, right? And really common with people when they have undiagnosed mental health issues, is they do feel like outliers or like, why can't I relate or why don't I fit in? And I was the same, right? Just quickly, can you give people a quick idea of what BPD is, what the symptoms are, how that impacts your life? Because I know people hear about it, but people don't really know what it is.
So a lot of people get it mistaken with bipolar, but it's not bipolar. It's like having erratic emotion. So the easiest way to say is like I watch cartoons with my kids, and when an emotional thing comes on, I cry. Like literally, bro. Like I cry and I have to cover it up because my kids will see it. But it's just like my body, I feel emotion. So if you love someone, I love them 3 times more than you. You know what I mean? Like every emotion, anger, love, hate, like, and then one of the common traits of like BPD is when someone hurts you, you hold on to it and you hate them to the point where like you cannot let go of it. Like I've cut people out of my life my whole life. Like I cut my mum and dad and my sister out of my life. Like, and to me to go back there and try and fix that relationship, like every time I think about it or try and do something about it, I just can't.
So you live on these extremes, like extreme happiness, extreme anger, extreme sadness. Like it's just everything's like all or nothing. Yeah. Emotionally, right?
Emotionally, yeah. And the thing is, like they say, there's no gray area. There's only white and black, literally. So like I'm either sad or I'm happy. So when something comes into my life and stresses me out, like I can go to very sad really quickly. Or I can, if something like, for example, if I won a competition, like my happy would be so high, it's not funny. Like, you know, and this was like an erratic scale my whole life. Like through my 20s was like up, down, up, down, up, down. And I remember back in my 20s, like every Sunday before I'd go to work, I'd be depressed at home in my bedroom and I would not leave my room. Every Sunday, and I'm not even kidding you when I say that, like it was like literally every Sunday. And then at 30, I had like a really crazy breakdown. I lost my job. I got kicked out of home. My car, I lost my license. Like everything just happened at once. And then I tried to commit suicide, which was at the point where I knew I needed to get help. And then I kind of like diagnosed myself on Google. Like literally,
it was a dangerous game.
Dangerous game, but I was spot on, bro. Like I diagnosed myself because we'd spoke about it when I was with my ex. We'd spoke about it before, so kind of diagnosed myself. So the first thing I did was like, it's either, like I said, I was always a I'm all in or I'm not in at all. So like I was like, I'm either going to get help and I'm going to go to the best person, or I'm not going to go to anyone at all. So like I got a new job literally within that week. And then I Googled like the best person to fix BPD and like on Google, and I found this therapist in Brisbane Hospital, and I saw him, and like, dude, that was the hardest thing in my life to even walk in that office in the first time. I remember it now today. It's like putting something out and telling people my problems when I've never spoke about them ever in my life, like, was the hardest thing. And
the first step's always brutal, like, because, and you find like, especially, how old are you?
I'm 37 this year. So.
Yeah, so people I'm 29, right? And people in our kind of generation, I'm pretty lucky where it was coming out, we're talking about mental health and a lot and everything. But in my brother's generation, he's 35, right? Usually it takes someone to getting to a breaking point to then need, like, to be like, okay, maybe I need help, right? And that's really full on that you had to get to that point to even recognize it and go to get help. And then that first step, I always tell people, like, because people are like, oh, I've acknowledged it, I'm going to go get help. I'm like, oh, dude, that first doctor's appointment, it's going to be brutal. Like, it's hard. I remember sitting there bawling my eyes out, man, in front of this doctor when I first went to get my mental health sorted, just like I can't stop crying. Like what's the matter? But yeah, so definitely.
Like, I remember going in there, talking to him, and then sitting in my room for 3 days afterwards, because I did it on a Friday, just like not wanting to talk to anyone, because I was like, when I get emotional, I close off, like, straight away. I shut everything off, and I am like a fucking glass wall, man, just a reflection, like I'm numb. And yeah, it was hard, but the thing that got me through it was, at that point I just started powerlifting, and I walked into a gym, and it was like I walked into like a place where I felt kind of at home for once in my life, kind of accepted. I wouldn't say that environment at that time was the healthiest for me, but it did teach me a lot now, and I'm so glad that's where I started. The gym was my place, and it always has been, because I was a Muay Thai fighter before I started powerlifting. So like, it was always an outlet for me. It was always my safe place to go to kind of feel better. It was like my medicine, because I always refused to take medication. And that goes back to because of the fact of drugs and alcohol in my childhood. Every doctor I ever went to always was like, here's an antidepressant, here's this pill, here's that. I don't want the pills. I want to fix the problem without drugs. And I've proven to myself that I have done that. And I just think it was like the trauma that I've seen. Like, my sister went through drugs, she went to rehab, was on shitloads of medications afterwards, still on medications now, has schizophrenia, and as soon as the people get off their meds, they go loopy again. And it's like, I never wanted to be dependent on any substance to live my life. So that's one thing that I really always enforced and tried to do. But when I hit that breaking point and I got help, I look back on it now as a coach, and I'm like, and I say this to a lot of people as well, is like, when you go see a psych, it's no different from you going to study to learn how to program. You're just learning a new skill, and you're just learning to be better at life. And sometimes we don't learn those skills as a kid, and I never learned those skills as a kid.
That's a big one, man. And again, we talk about generational gap, right? But that is a big one. Like, I just remember talking about, obviously I don't have BPD, but say with really bad anxiety, ADHD, and talking to older people, and they'd be like, oh, everyone deals with that. And you know who says that? People that have undiagnosed mental health issues.
Yeah.
Everyone deals with that. Now, with medication, I mean, obviously, I'll just say, like, I take medication. I can't function without it, but I completely get your reason as to why. And I think people really don't understand how much therapy can help, like, even without medication, right? Having the right processes put in place and everything. help a lot, and learning just that, a lot of people just understanding what you're going through helps a lot. So you got diagnosed, you got help, you're on your path to managing your BPD and everything like that. I'm curious how that impacts you as a lifter and a coach. And like you said, if you feel these emotions on such big extremes, what happens if you have a bad session? What happens if you miss a lift or you bomb in a comp? Like, how do you manage that?
So back in the day, it used to fuck me, and they were like, it literally, like I say that, I don't know if I can swear on here, but like I literally just say that.
You're all good, man.
This
is the first one we're setting the precedent.
Yeah. So there was, if I fast forward a little bit, like, because before that, if I go back to therapy, like after I did a few sessions of therapy, I went and did a course called dialect behavior therapy, which retrained my brain on how to understand emotion and not act on emotion. Because my biggest problem is I used to act on emotion, and if I got angry, it could be violent. And if it was like sad, I would hide and exclude myself from everybody. So like I had to learn how to actually not react to my actual emotions and process them properly, because I was never shown how to process my emotions as a kid. So went through a lot of that, and that was a 12-month course, man. That cost me 10 grand. And like when I thought about it and he put that money up, I couldn't afford that. Man, I was on 50 grand a year, and I'm like, that's like 1/10, that's 1/5 of my wage for the year. But there's no price on having a better life. That's how I look at it. And I wanted to improve my life.
Yeah, man. Same thing when people tell me about, I get that sometimes it is just out of reach, but when people talk about, I get heaps of people talk about ADHD with me, and they're like, oh, I just don't have the money for therapy. And dude, it's expensive. Like, the first session's $300, $400. You get half back from Medicare, but it's still $200 something minimum for the first one. And then you've probably got 3 or 4 more follow-ups. But my first question is, do you drink beers?
No.
Right? No, not you. I mean, to people. It's like, and they'll be like, yeah, I drink like a slab a week. And I'm like, bro, 4 weeks, you've paid for your therapy. Skip beers for 4 weeks and your life's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, it's like when same things. One of the first things that like when I got taught when I became a coach was like, ask them if they drink coffee, and they say when they can't afford it. It's like, yeah, it was like, well, if you take coffee away for like 7 days, you can afford coaching. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's when people want to make it a necessity that they'll go and do it. And the thing is, to me, when I did that, I did it and I came out of it like a completely different person. But a lot of those things, it's like, and I refer back to my mental health exactly like I look at powerlifting, and powerlifting gave me that view, bro. So like understanding the process of training and understanding the process of becoming better at what you need to do in training to get where I want to be is no different from life, man. Like you got to improve the skills to be better at life. Otherwise you will never ever move forward in life. And when it comes to bad days for me, I don't have them so much these days, because I've learnt a lot of my center of problems were my job. And now that I do what I love every day and I get to work with individuals that is so fulfilling for me, I'm always feeling joy, not sadness. But when something stressful happens in my life, there's so many other good things in my life happening that the stress is just so minute. And I look at it like that is just a little problem among so much greatness that's happening in my life and what I'm around me right now. So why am I so stressed about it? It's going to go away if I just go and fix it. So I just go and fix it, Yeah. And training taught me that, because like, let's go to a bad experience in my life with training. So in 2018, I did a competition on the Sunshine Coast. I got gastritis, thanks to Voltaren. I got influenza, and then 2 days out from comp, I got sick off my little boy and was vomiting everywhere. And so literally I put 12, this was my first proper 12 months into a prep. Thought I was going to kill it. Almost bombed my squats. Didn't get a PB on bench. Got 2.5 on my deadlift. And I was like, fucking didn't show it to anyone, but I was distraught, man. It wrecked me.
It's hard, man, when you have a bad comp.
And literally, like, I looked at that. I looked at it and I was like, this is like so embarrassing. Like, I've just said I'm going to do all this shit, been talking about on social media. I was a coach then too. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. I'm like, I just fucking had the worst prep and everyone's looking at me like I'm a loser. And I felt like I did exactly when I was a kid. And I was like, so many people at that point, because I'd been through mental stuff and the gym that I was previous in, a lot of people, like, I got kicked out of that gym because of my behavior when I was going through mental stuff. And now as a business owner, I want to say this because, like, I don't want them to think that I am talking about them. But now as a business owner, and I look within my own business, I was a toxic person, so they needed to remove me from the environment. So, like, it was not on them, it was my behavior. And like, I was like, all them people in that gym is going to laugh at me. Like, they're going to think I'm a fucking loser. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I need to come back from this. Like, so I had to go back and I decided to rebuild my squat, rebuild my deadlift. So I went from conventional to sumo. So I had to go back to 100 kilos and learn how to deadlift to over 250 again. And it was so hard to be a beginner again and rebuild everything. But I was like, this sport is my fucking life. Like, I have the aspirations to be one of the best coaches in Australia. That is my, like, aspirations. I want to be known for what I do to help people, not for what people get on the bar, you know? And I'm like, back then I didn't have my direction of where I am now. I know where I am now and know what I want to do. But I'm like, this is just another step. I have to do this. But that 12 months was the longest 12 months of my fucking life, bro. Like, having to build that and go through that to get back. But the day I walked back on that platform, I did the same competition the next year because I had to come back and I had to redeem myself. I went back to the Sunshine Coast and I put 25 kilos on my deadlift. I put 5 kilos on my bench and I put 20 kilos on my squat.
Yeah.
And I was like, some of the people were there that I thought would judge me. And like, everyone was like, well done. We know you were here last year. We've been seeing your work. And it was so rewarding, man, to go through that hard time and come out the other side, because it just built like so much fortitude. Like, it built so much strength within myself and my own mental health to come out the other side of that and be a better athlete, a better coach, because now I understand my clients and what they go through. And it made me find so many more things I want to do in the future. For example, move forward into competition so that I understand how my client feels when they want to go to nationals, when they go to Pro Raw, when they go do this. So I'm working, my goals are to get to these events before my clients. So when they get there and they have a bad comp there, I understand what they feel like so I can help them. It just gave me more direction.
Yeah.
But
no, 100%. And do you think like that year off where you've had to break everything down, you said you felt like a beginner again and everything like that, did that have any, I know, and it always sounds cliche, but training, I find for me, I've matured a lot as a lifter. I've gotten a lot more patient. I can look at the long game. Like, obviously ADHD, man, I'm super impulsive, but now I'm a lot better at controlling that because of training, right? And I have foresight, and I'm like, all right, look, like, if I'm just patient, I'll be able to do this in 6 months. Do you find that year where you had to take time off, you've just been diagnosed with BPD and stuff like that, has that, through training and having to take a time off and I guess being humbled and having to knock everything back, has that carried over into your everyday life and helped you in your everyday mindset or not?
Definitely, yeah, definitely, 100%. Like, especially in my business, because nothing, like, if we look at my business, dude, like, I've been coaching 4 years now, and I did not get anywhere near where I wanted to be until the middle of last year. It's taken me almost 3 years to build a name for myself. And that wasn't just because like I wasn't a good coach, but it's just powerlifting, man. You need to earn the respect, everyone. It's a hard industry to make it in. And I'll say right now, like when I wanted to become a coach and I wanted to be a powerlifting coach, everybody but one person in my life said, you won't do it. It's too hard to get into. So that negative mindset, like really made it hard for me to want to do it as well. So in the back of my mind, people were still speaking in my head saying, oh, it's too hard to get into. You won't make money. Like it's a really hard thing to do. And the only person that said that you can do it and I'll be there and help you is Will Cross.
Man, absolute legend of a human being. Everyone knows how much I love Crozier.
Like, and that dude, I owe my life to him. Like, man, him and Mickey my business would not be where it is right now with neither of them. They are like the dons of like the industry. There needs to be more people in the coach. Like they are. They're literally like, and there needs to be more people in the world like them, like that help people. And that my whole aspiration in being who I am is based around the people who have helped me, but also the people who didn't help me. So the people that didn't help me at the time in my dark stages in my life, those people made me be a better coach, and I'm thankful for it. Like the bad experiences in life also make the better experiences better. Sorry, saying better too many times, but yeah, but yeah, like they make everything like better, like make it more so you can like enjoy it. Like I had 2 coaches before I was with Will that I was just a number and I paid their bills because I wasn't strong. But there's not one person on my team. I don't care if you lift 100 kilos or you lift fucking 200, 300 kilos. You're all the same and equal. And that's because I was treated unequal, that now everybody gets treated equal. So, yeah, when it comes to the mental side of things with people in my clients as well, like I'm like you, I get a lot of people that come to me because of I put my story out there and they struggle with mental health or whatever like that. And I'm happy to help people, but I always guide people in the right directions. So if you do need to talk to someone or you need help, I will direct you. I've got therapists that I have connections with that take them, and I've directed a few of my clients to them, and they're doing amazing. And I wish I had that when I was coming up.
Yeah. Same, man, like 100%. And that's the thing, like as much as coaching, you end up being, I want to use the word loosely, you end up being a counselor. People offload on you, right? And you listen. You're not a mental health professional. So knowing when to, hey, I think this person is going to, just like referring to a physio, this person's going to help you is really important. But also, I think a lot of coaches don't recognize that people actually sometimes need that push. Yeah. And when you've been through it, though, like you said, how much would that have helped you?
Yeah. But the thing is, too, like someone like myself or you, who people look up to, when you turn around and say, I go and see someone, like I still see someone once a month, bro. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like when someone says to you, oh, I see someone, maybe you should, they look at you like, oh, he does it, so maybe I should go and do it,
It's that normalizing it, man.
Yeah, and that's what I want it to be like. Like when I was coming up, like if you had mental health problems, you were fucking like crazy. That's what, and people looked at me when I first started powerlifting like I was loopy. Like I was crazy, but like like I understand my behavior was crazy. I acted irrational. I probably did some dumb shit, but like everyone has a backstory. Everyone's gone through a lot of shit, especially in life today. And people go through a lot of things. But if you don't know someone's backstory or you don't have the time to sit down with them and find out their backstory and maybe help them, maybe you shouldn't be around them, Like some people don't like to talk about things, but you know, at the end of the day, like if you call someone your friend or you care about them, you know, like, and you're going to talk behind their back because they're not as fucking mentally stable as you, like, don't, like, that to me, like, is really sad. Like, you should reach out and help people as much as you can. I'm a caring person, like I said, like, I'm over emotional all the time, but I also give a lot. Like, I love to give to people. I love to help people. And when I see people just shit on other people for a laugh or a joke or their own benefit, like, that really upsets me. And I kind of just segregate myself from that, like, if people are like that. But yeah, as a person who suffers from mental health, but like, it's not so much these days, because like, honestly, like, I've got I'll go on to a topic about today is I have an amazing support network around me, and that to me is like why I'm so good. I have a beautiful girlfriend who always puts up with my shit. I've got Will, I've got Zach, people like yourself, my clients, like having like, I like to call like my team like an environment. So you want to have a healthy ecosystem so that you can flourish and grow. If you don't have people that tell you your behavior is unacceptable, you're going to continue to act that way. So if you have people that are going to be truthful and honest to you and say, hey man, Anthony, you're acting like an idiot today, you're going to change that eventually, because someone's going to speak to you. Or if you're someone that's just going to walk away from it, you will. But eventually, like, that's why I changed my life, is because someone told me that. You know?
Yeah, like 100%, man. And I was in the same boat. I only got help because of my missus. And I was sitting there breaking down in the shower, and she was like, hey, like, I love you so much, but we need to fix this, right? And then, you know, Tyler, my best mate, and that, like, it's all friendly, right? But I also think it's important to have a team that makes allowances. Like, when someone's struggling, someone's had a really bad flare up, they can't get out of bed, it's probably not the time to be like, hey, you're dropping the ball. And I know you wouldn't do that.
No.
It's just understanding, right? Yeah.
Oh, sorry for that. Like, just to finish off the end of that with you, like, in one of the most eye-opening moments within my team that really that moment, like you're talking about there, that really makes me happy of what I've built and what I have around in my team, is the fact I have a boy in my team that has cerebral palsy, and he, in his left leg, he can barely squat. And like, you know, 40 kilos was huge for him. And through this whole process in the last 12 months, every one of my fucking team members has been behind his back, like, pushing him to get there, and he just squatted over 100 kilos.
That's outstanding, man.
And dude,
that's so good.
The best thing about all of that is, like, it's like he has struggled with a lot of mental stuff as well. And then the boys pick him out one by one and like take him to the gym, and they're like, Sean, come train with me, come do this, come do that. And they get behind him, and I'm like, fuck, like, some days it makes me want to cry. Like, and it's just like, that to me is everything I've ever wanted. That's all I want to see. And I want to see that in everything in powerlifting. And that's why I cling so much to like APL, bro. Like, because the fact that APL is bringing tested and non-tested back together, and it's not segregated, and powerlifting is not becoming like a sport where it's separated, like, oh, I'm tested, I'm untested, and everybody's coming together again. So
yeah, oh man, that's the best. Oh dude, that pro roll, so good to see.
Yeah,
just all these different people like lifting under the one roof. I was like, this is how it should be, man.
Yeah, and that's like, it's like everything. It's like we're coming back together again. Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say before I cut you off?
Oh, I was going to say, to round it out, what, you know, it's a pretty generic question, but people, you know, someone might watch this go, oh man, I relate to, I just got diagnosed with BPD. I get what he's going through, but I'm say further back, I'm 10 years behind in that journey. And obviously there's big ups and downs. One, you know, what is it specifically about powerlifting that helped you? And two, what tips do you have for people that are going through things like that? You know, when there's days they just can't get out of bed. Now, obviously, not a mental health professional, but from your personal experience, what helped you?
So powerlifting taught me how, like, between having Will as a coach and then lifting heavy and failing stuff and not reaching points, it just taught me resilience. So, like, within resilience, by, like, I mean,
love that.
The fact that, like, whenever something gets hard, you know, you just got to put in the work to get further and further. And the thing is, with powerlifting, there's no fucking end. So, like, if you really want to just continue going for the rest of your life, you can. But, you know, like, you can hit a peak where you're, like, probably going to be the best in Australia, the best in the world. But I never ever focused on this guy. I never ever focused on being on the platform. You know, like, I never wanted, like, I've won one competition, came second at States recently. But, like, I never focused on that. I just focused on being a better version of me. So by pushing myself to limits in powerlifting, I've learned how to control my aggression, my anxiety. Like, I really had fucking severe anxiety. My paranoia, I had severe paranoia. All them emotions, like, and that's massive for me, man, because something like that was the trait of, like, all my problems, like emotion, not being able to control my emotions. And then now when it comes to business, when something goes wrong, I just refer back to powerlifting, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I've just got to control this emotion and respond to this message in an adult way or in a responsible way, because this is just like another learning process. And that's how it's, like, over the years and years. I know I didn't realize it was probably about 4 years into powerlifting about 7 or 8 years now. About 3 or 4 years into powerlifting, I realized of what powerlifting done for my own mental health, because it was almost like I felt like I matured.
Yeah, man, like, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you learn that failure, I use that term, you miss reps, you have a bad prep. It's fleeting. It happens. You move on from it, though. You correct it. You look at it, you go, what could I have done better? Now I'll move forward and I'll fix that. But that does carry over to every part of your life, hey?
Yeah, man. Like, I just had the worst prep fucking ever in my life. like just coming into comp, I got COVID 5 weeks out. Then I hurt my back 2 weeks out. And I was really, really in a point of bad emotions. And like you, man, but I don't isolate myself. I just take myself to the gym and keep training. But
I lay in bed.
Huh?
I said I lay in bed.
I segregate myself from people. Like, I separate myself. Like, even it's bad because, like, having a partner and 2 kids, like, I kind of can become very cold. And like, I kind of just go to the gym and just get so, like, tunnel visioned. But instead, this time of, like, bottling it, instead of writing how to squat or bench or deadlift, I just wrote out how I feel and posted on social media.
I love that.
And shared it with everyone.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'll get her in. Sorry, my partner's just
it's all good.
Me to pick the kids up, but I've still got 25 minutes. So, like, I wrote it down in articles and I put it out there, man. And do you know what? I got the best response I've ever got from anybody. My following and engagement went, like, up huge. And people were just like, whoa, you just read my mind. Everybody in prep, I feel this way. And then I was like, well, I need to document this, and then I need to do, like, a competition, like, vlog, and then I just need to put out how I felt before and how I felt afterwards, so people understand this is normal.
Bro, 100%. And that's why I do. That's why I post so much about mental health, because the amount of messages I get and be like, oh, I didn't realize so many people are going through it. And you're like, yeah, man, there's a lot of us. Like, you're not alone. Like, there's a lot of us that understand and can relate to each other. And while there might be differences, like, I don't have BPD, I've got other things, like, you can still understand fundamentally, like, you know, that person's struggling and they're going through a hard patch. And most people, not everyone, but most people are pretty good people, and they're always, you know, willing to offer a helping hand.
Yeah, totally. And it's just like, when I put the vlog out, like, I kind of did, like, at the start of it, I just did me sitting on, like, in Brisbane in front of a bridge, and it was daytime. So meaning, like, the start being daytime. And then I just voice over the top of it, and I just talked about, like, the main feelings I felt, because it was, like, at the peak where I'd failed my last deadlift. I couldn't squat him on 230 when my PB's 270. I talked about how I couldn't even get my last bench up. Like, I was just absolutely emotionally distraught and at the peak of, like, feeling like shit. And then I went to comp, bro, and I had an absolutely fucking amazing comp. Had the best time of my life, and I didn't beat my PR total, but I got a PR squat, a PR deadlift and bench. Let's add in there that I haven't PB'd my bench in 3 years, so that was the best time.
Congratulations, big dog.
And then I came second, bro. Like, I didn't, and to me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the second place. I don't care about anything. But the fact that I still turned up on that day and executed my shit, even if it went to, like, shit, was the hardest thing I've had to do, because I was so close to pulling out. And I'd said it to Will, and Will's like, oh, we'll just see how you feel next week. And I know he was just delaying the inevitable to make me fucking do it. From the bottom of his heart, of course. But, you know, like, when I got there and I turned up, like, I was, like, shaking, bro. Like, I was so anxious, because the same thing. I felt shame. I felt like I was going to fail, and everyone's going to look at me like I'm a fool. I'm this coach now. Everyone looks up to me, like. But at the end of the day, in the other back of my mind, I was like, I need to do this, because if I don't do it, then I allow an excuse for my clients to go, hey, I don't feel like I can do a comp because I'm feeling bad, and then they pull out. So I needed to be an example, because now I'm a leader. And then I also needed to do it for my own mental place to come through the other side, even if I had a bad competition, and some way build a bit more resilience towards failure.
Yeah. And you know what? Powerlifting's good for that, man. Resilience towards failure. Like, I love that. Tips for people that are going through a hard time mentally, emotionally. You know, obviously you're not going to be like, just suck it up and get through. But, you know, if you could give one tip, put you on the spot there, what would it be?
Just to kind of, like, find the people in your life that care and connect with them, because the one thing I didn't mention about in my story is, like, I'm a Christian, and I used to go to a church down on the Gold Coast, and it took one person to show me love to make me realize that I'd never been loved. So, like, one person, John Gabriel, he was my pastor at the time, is now my best mate in the world.
You're in APL, right?
Huh? No, John, not John, different John, but not John like John. Yeah, different John on the Goldie. He was my pastor at my church, and he just saw this, like, broken kid, and he just took me into this, like, group of people, and just, like, man, like, when he come up to me, he's like, he used to tell me, like, love you, bro, and I'd be like, oh. Like, because I didn't say it back, man, because, like, I'd never been showed love. I was like, why's this guy? What does he want from me? Like, trying to steal my wallet or want my money or some shit.
It is confronting, though, when you've never had it, hey, and then someone shows it unconditionally, and you're like, what's this?
That was my thought process, man, because, like, when someone, like, because I'd been so hurt by people that said they loved me, that when someone told me they love me, instantly start, what do they want from me? Like, so just find your one person that's going to be there for you, whether it be your girlfriend or your friend or your mate or even someone that you talk to, but find that person and don't dump all your stuff on them. But when they try and tell you something out of their kindness, like, maybe go talk to someone, actually listen to them, because they're talking from a perspective where they're trying to help you.
Yeah. No, I love that. Cheers for that, man. Thanks heaps for coming on, bro. First one. I'm going to be doing more of these. So I've got Hal Regal coming on talking about his injury soon and the setbacks that he had and how that's affected him and, you know, his lifting and his mental state. Matt Burton, that's your Insta, right? Matt Burton, but also River City.
So my private Insta is like X, the notorious MATX, and then my business page is River City Barbell
Oz. I'll put it like here. River City Barbell Oz. Give him a follow. He posts a lot of good content. Your video editing's been really good, by the way. Like, I'm really enjoying those real edits. So give him a follow. Give him a message. Thanks heaps for coming on. Any last words, man?
No, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. And if anybody ever needs to chat or anything, just send me an inbox. I'm always happy to talk to anyone.
No, absolute legend. Thanks heaps, man.